I normally don't do videos like this, but because of my daily job as a microtransit operator, might as well do a first time reaction to a climate and transit video entitled The Problem with Microtransit. Now, this actually has me interested in everything, and I apologize if the audio sounds bad or whatever, or I'm not showing my face. I'm not doing face reveals in my video as of yet, but I'll put the link in the description to the original video, but I will be pausing it now and then just to like give some feedback and everything with regards to my experience as a microtransit operator, but also as a passenger. But either way, with this video, problem with microtransit, and here we go.
Lived out in the suburbs, you know that trying to take public transit in your daily life can be an incredibly difficult task. With transit stations and stops that are well out of walking distance, bicycle infrastructure that is practically non existent, and the fact that the minimal transit that does exist out in suburbia is infrequent and in places that are uncomfortable to wait, it's no wonder why most people in the suburbs don't take transit regularly or at all. But transit.
Okay, I actually want to talk about that. Now, now he is not wrong with regards to how crazy transit tends to be within the suburbs. Like literally, if you recall last year, for those of y'all that have been subscribed to my channel for a while, y'all know that I was able to visit some family in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Now, Lawrenceville, of course, has their rebranded public transit service, Ride Gwinnett, which to say it had so much lipstick on a pig is an understatement. It was literally the same buses from Gwinnett County Transit. It just rebranded, and the service was not really that great. I was literally waiting for over a half hour for a bus that unfortunately wouldn't accept a card like MTA and New Jersey Transit. So yeah, he's not wrong with that, how it is with services there. It's pretty much it's different here in the New York, New Jersey area, but I could definitely see that.
Agencies have begun to dip their toes into the idea of a service that seems ideally built for this kind of suburban sprawl. This is microtransit. But what exactly is microtransit? And is it really a potential solution for offering public transit among the suburban sprawl of North America?
Okay. Also, with the fact that he mentioned about the urban sprawl of North America, I have seen the platform my company use. My company, of course, is via Jersey City, but I've seen platforms like Via and Rideco used in other places. If I'm correct, the founders for Via Transportation is actually Israeli himself. In fact, I was able to see the TED Talk with regards to that. I think I'll put the link in the description for that too.
Microtransit, sometimes known as Transit on Demand, is a public transit service that focuses on direct door to door services that is ordered by the rider in advance. In
Yep.
essence, it is very similar to a taxi or rideshare service like Lyft or Uber. Most microtransit services will have you download their own app, although quite a few allow you to call in advance just in case you aren't tech savvy. But if you are,
And that I've seen on our vans in particular at Via Jersey City. Like you have the options of downloading the Via Jersey City app on the on the App Store or Google Play, or you could call the number as you mentioned. Now, to backtrack, is it possible to have door to door service for Via Jersey City? Yes, it is. But at the same time, there's also the case of some that tend to that often meet at a corner, because the like again with the TED talk that I mentioned, the founder mentioned how essentially every corner is a bus stop. Now, the reality is there are some corners that are not the safest to either pick up, drop off, let alone wait for a passenger. I even had a case where I was involved in an incident where a driver actually hit the vehicle I was assigned with that day and just kept on going and everything. Thankfully, I wasn't suspended, but unfortunately, there are cases like that that happens.
Then you create your own account and then select your starting point and end destination in app. You'll then confirm your ride time, whether it's immediate or at some point in the upcoming future. And then you'll hop into the designated vehicle when it arrives at your starting point, which
Okay, I also want to mention about the book your time in advance. That is something that I see available with Rideco. With Via Jersey City, I wish that was an option for passengers, because I can't count how many times I've driven towards certain corners and there are passengers that are not there, not ready. There's some that are making their way to the corner. I'm personally one that likes to call them up and everything, say hi, I'm at the corner. For those of y'all that live in Jersey City, you probably recognize my voice, but yeah, the circumstances vary with regards to certain ones.
can be anything from a minibus or van all the way down to a minivan or sedan with a couple of transit agency decals on them. Whatever.
And Via Jersey City has vans. The bulk of our fleet, well, our fleet mainly consists of vans from Chrysler, Honda, Toyota, and Kia, and there are a few compact SUVs, namely our all of our electric cars, specifically the Kia Niro EV, and we have some temporary vehicles like the Honda CRV, the Honda HRV for in some cases, and some Nissan Muranos last I checked as of March 2026.
The vehicle might be, it's designed to get you from door to door, and for people who really need to get around without a car in suburban or rural areas. This is a massive blessing for the ability to travel without a car. And if you've taken a trip on public transit out in the suburbs, you might have noticed these three major disadvantages that these suburban transit services suffer from. Having to connect to different bus routes to get to your final destination,
Yep.
waiting for long periods of time between infrequent suburban buses, and a
Yep.
fair amount of walking between the bus stops and your destination.
Literally me waiting by the Waffle House for that ride Gwinnett bus, which was terrible. Like, eh, it was such a bad experience and everything. And one thing I've mentioned in the video is that the people in Lawrenceville, they are way too nice to have such a low quality public transit service and everything. Like, very nice people as you walk by them. A lot of them would say good morning, hello to you and everything. And it's just sad that there are suburban places like these with very nice people but a low quality public transit service. Some don't want to be in their cars, but they have no choice but to be in their cars.
Along some of the most unwalkable spaces you could ever imagine. Transit on Demand takes all of that out and gives you a much quicker point to point ride, meaning that you no longer have to make all of those crazy connections. But now you might be thinking, hey, rideshare and taxis do this too. Well, yes, they do. But Microtransit has a little trick up its sleeve. You see,
I'm sure he's going to mention the tricks up the sleeves, like he said, but there's some that has compared Via, for instance, to Uber and Lyft, and like he said earlier, and the way I dumb down microtransit, it's a hybrid between a shuttle bus and Uber. Instead of taking the vehicle by yourself, you're riding with idealistically a few people that is heading towards the same destination as you are. Or there's some who lived in Brooklyn, like my parents, for instance, that refer to it as a dollar van. And yeah, there are aspects of dollar vans that are pretty similar.
since these services are funded by local governments and transit agencies, microtransit services are usually capped in terms of their prices, making them significantly cheaper compared to the private market options offered by rideshare or taxi companies.
Yep,
Let's, for example, take a simple 6 mile trip between this point here in Vancouver, Washington, and Camas, Washington. The typical cost for this rideshare ride can vary anywhere from $15 to $30 for this basic trip, and that's because private rideshare or taxi services can vary their pricing depending on the demand of day. It's called surge
exactly.
pricing, and it's been a real big issue in terms of a lot of different products and services, but I digress. While the prices can change and are usually higher in terms of the private option, the public option in the area, known as the Current, operated by C-Tran, uses a fixed price system. No matter
Okay, I'm sorry to keep stopping the videos. I just don't want any copyright claims. But yeah, he is exactly right on the pricing. For via Jersey City, the general price is $2 per passenger, or to be able to head out and around the central business district. If you're going within the central business district, it's an extra 50 cents. So that's one of the many things that people in Jersey City love about Via over Uber and Lyft. And I've even had passengers complain about the fact that there are times where there are some Uber drivers that do not clean their cars as properly as they should. Like, um, if you have a personal vehicle, I say just drive it in general because you don't know who you're going to have in your car. Like, drive like you're 10 years old and your mom is entering the room, please.
Matter how far you're going in the system, your trip will always end up costing a whopping total of $1.25. Or if you're an honored citizen, an even more insane 60 cents a ride. No matter how you spin it, microtransit is significantly cheaper than its competitors on the private side. Its competitors
I'm kind of chuckling with Metro Micro. I've checked out a good number of videos from City Beautiful as an amateur city planner, and basically Metro Micro was featured a lot in his videos surrounding microtransit.
when it comes to travel times, and it gets you to and from your destination door to door. So clearly, this is the most absolutely perfect mode of public transportation. Soon enough, you'll see microtransit replace many of the world's great transit systems like the New York City Metro and the London Underground. And we'll have our own harmonious future of microtransit to get us wherever we need to go to and make our cities better places to live. Thank you all for
I know what he's doing. I know he's speaking sarcastically. And I'm already mentally preparing myself. I This is my first time reacting to this. I hope there's no cusses because I don't like cussing in my videos, but let's see.
watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Alright, enough with the sarcasm. What's wrong with these things? While microtransit has a lot going for it in terms of it being a door-to-door service and its ability to offer said service affordably, microtransit has some serious drawbacks that keep it from being a more serious mode of transportation within our cities. Remember
Literally what I have told some passengers, and I agree 100%.
how I told you that microtransit services need to be ordered? Well, that requires the use of a specific app, and most transit
Yep.
agencies have struggles creating a standard payment and wayfinding app, let alone a clone of a rideshare app. Oftentimes, this can cause a lot of different issues at a lot of different parts of the actual ordering of the vehicle, from creating the account to actually setting your location to finding your end destination. But this pales in comparison to actually using the service itself. You see,
Yep, I absolutely agree with this because not only am I a microtransit operator, I've used it as a passenger before. And the way I would describe it is it's almost similar to when you're trying to take the MTA Express bus. If you take the express bus into the city, you are more likely to be able to you're more likely to be able to take you're more like you're more likely to be able to be dropped off there, but you can't take an express bus from one part of Manhattan to another because it's basically all a drop off only place, to put it in layman's terms. So yeah, that's kind of a drawback there, but I'm sure each of you have like different issues with regards to the microtransit service in your area.
microtransit is designed to make transit trips more direct for riders between destinations. However, this comes with a ton of downsides in terms of the operation for services. For one, transit agencies often have a limited budget for these services, so this ends up being incredibly restricting for the microtransit services themselves in a few ways. The most common one is the zones. Basically, every microtransit service operated by a public transit agency operates within a certain mapped out zone, meaning
Yep, like I said, the two different zones, like there are only two zones within Via Jersey City, just the central business district and outside of it. Now you can imagine the outside of it would likely include not just Greenville proper, but parts of Bayonne, parts of Hoboken and Secaucus, even the Heights. And unfortunately, because these zones are divided, there are a lot of ups and downs that of viewpoints that I have given towards passengers. In fact, I wish it could operate almost like they do in Helsinki, just going to the nearest light rail or path station, but that's just me.
You can only book rides in this zone. While one of the most common ways to somewhat resolve the issues created by microtransit zones is to allow for these microtransit services to drop off people at transit centers outside of the main zones, this limitation can be incredibly frustrating and takes out a lot of the actual door to door service that microtransit promises. This
Exactly.
limitation is incredibly frustrating for riders and restricts them from making trips that they might seriously need, as well as reducing the
Exactly.
amount of actual door to door services that they can offer. These kinds of issues are somewhat
I don't know why, but I kind of like that micro cat livery. I don't know what service that is. If you know what service that is, let me know in the comments. But he's absolutely right with some of the drawbacks towards the zones.
understandable from the type of transit service that microtransit is. But the biggest issue comes not from these types of services or the total travel time, but from the total trip time. One of the problems that you get from having a limited budget is that you often have a limited amount of operators for a microtransit service. And
And we've experienced that too. Like there was one time on a Saturday in Jersey City where I was trying to go from one place to another, and even the Via Jersey City app said that we are running as best as we can with a limited number of drivers. And if I deal with that as one that is often a driver, I can only imagine how you deal with it as a passenger who doesn't work for Via, and it could be a nuisance. So I could see how much of a nuisance that could be for certain individuals.
when you have a limited amount of operators, you start to run into the real constraint of microtransit. You see, microtransit has a fairly low threshold for throughput, mainly caused by the whole door to door operation that microtransit runs under. When every driver in a zone is currently occupied, it can significantly increase wait times and cause delays for riders.
I can see that. I love that this van is purple right here. It almost looks like a Via Jersey City van, even though I know it isn't. But I could see that right there. And in fact, like you can, I make the argument that you can't have all the vehicles running at the same time, just like with a regular public transit service, because as let's say one of the vehicles suddenly has a problem on the road, then you would need to like deadhead back, like you've seen me done so in my channel multiple times over the years that I've worked for Via, only to be reassigned with another vehicle. The fact that last month I had to deal with the craziness of being reassigned to six different vehicles in one day, in one morning, it was it was crazy to say the least.
These delays can cause major mistrust with the whole microtransit operation, and while this can be mitigated by doing shared trips where the rideshare picks up multiple people and drops them off along the way, even this solution comes with the problem of removing the whole door to door aspect of microtransit. This massively increases overall travel times, and in some cases, even higher than what transit had existed before. It almost
Exactly. Um with regards to door services, there are some streets, for instance, where I'm actually happy that we have minivans at Via as opposed to these larger vehicles like the Ford Transit, or I'm assuming this is either a Diamond or Starlink vehicle right here that I paused at. Not Starlink, not like Tesla. Star something. Like you'll probably correct me in the comments, but yeah, that's why there's the case of, just waiting at the corner. Sometimes at the corner, it could be one passenger I'm waiting for, it could be a group of passengers. Sometimes there's a group of passengers that I drop off and everything. So, yeah, the circumstances vary.
seems like microtransit would be a complete waste for a public transit network in its entirety. So, is there even any way that we could properly fit this into a public transit service network? But you know what I hope fits in your daily network? This channel. If you're enjoying this video and you want to support more of this channel, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe. And if you want early access to videos, extra content, your name in the credits, or just want to support the channel, I also have
Mhm.
my Patreon down below too. Anyways, enough of
He's not the only one with Patreon. Like, go to patreon.com/Dream Journal Projects as well. I only got one Patreon member there, but he's not a Patreon patron. I don't even know his name.
That, let's get back into the video. Microtransit is not inherently a useless mode of public transit. While it does have some crucial downsides that limit the scope of it, it still has a use, just more in a niche sense. Microtransit
Yep,
works well in connecting low density gaps in public transit networks. Say for
absolutely true. Oh, there is a gated community on 440 where I often pick up and drop up passengers in. All too often, I'm dropping them off at, let's say, Journal Square. There. There are times when I see like New Jersey Transit buses there, and they're able to pick people up accordingly, but it's kind of crazy how not only are they unable to like get everyone, but the fact that right across the 440 highway is a bus garage. So you would think that they would have more availabilities to be able to head there, but I guess not.
example, we have a hilly neighborhood that's kind of near a transit center. Many people might opt out of walking down and up for a bus, but if they can hop in the microtransit van to the transit center, they might just choose that over driving. While
Yep.
this niche still does provide
I've actually had a passenger that said that they actually sold their car in favor of via Jersey City because of how convenient it was at the time for them. And this was about 3 years ago. I was about a year into the company.
an opportunity for people who might otherwise drive in every situation to have another option of travel. The biggest problem that circles microtransit is that many public transit agencies feel the need to shoehorn microtransit service into an area where it is wholly unnecessary. One of the most
Yep.
egregious cases of overuse of microtransit came back in January out of Seminole County, Florida. The county had chosen to cut most of its bus routes in favor of using a microtransit service for most of the area in
Ooh, bad call. I love that this area used the VWID buzz, by the way. I wish Via could try that instead of the lower capacity Kia Niros that I mentioned earlier. Nothing against them. It's just in some cases you need a higher capacity vehicle. But yeah, never ever ever replace a fixed bus route system with microtransit, because you need to rely in some cases. Microtransit can be a convenience, but at the same time you do not ever want to replace a fixed route system, because if done well, you could just rely on that fixed route system to not match with your to match with your schedule whenever you want to go out. If you are relying on microtransit, you also have to rely on not just your schedule, but the schedule of the drivers, the schedule and circumstances of the drivers, and the schedule and circumstances of other passengers. So yeah, don't ever, ever replace fixed bus routes with microtransit.
order to close a funding gap. Now, mind you, this is Seminole County, Florida, a county with almost 500,000 people, replacing most of its bus services with a microtransit service. For
Ooh,
many riders who lived on bus routes that had predictable schedules, this was a catastrophic change that made their commutes to work or travel in the region in general much worse.
I
This
believe
is
it.
suburban Florida. They found a way to make public transit in suburban Florida one of the most unwalkable places with some of the worst transit in America even worse. While most cities
Yeah, I can only imagine. And there are some parts of Jersey City that are unwalkable. Like, to their credit, they have been trying with implementing more bike lanes, and the fact that there have been some places that have been closed off and replaced with pedestrian malls is kind of a win. Like, I know on at the corner of Newark and Jersey Avenue, I love that pedestrian mall to go between there and the and the and the Grove Street Path Station. Like, it's such a nice little area to be able to walk through and stuff. And, it looks nice depending on the time of year.
Have not hit this issue when it comes to microtransit. This is a very telling sign about public transit that a county in a major metro area was willing to go through and try this. As many transit agencies have not met their pre 2020 ridership levels and have met serious funding challenges from this, some people might blame the transit agencies themselves for trying these sorts of solutions to increase ridership, when the real reason most of the time comes from a different source.
The zoning problem. Okay. I think he's gonna mention what I was thinking. What I mentioned earlier. Like, there needs to be more than just two zones, at least for via Jersey City. If you know how many zones there are for the microtransit in your area, please tell me in the comments.
Microtransit isn't a great cause of stagnation or decline in public transit. Microtransit is merely an attempt by public transit agencies to adapt to a greater problem that is ongoing within our city's major metro areas.
Absolutely agree. And yeah, suburban sprawl. Absolutely agree with that. And it's not just in the suburban area, like although Jersey City to some kind of counts more as the suburbs, but there are some higher density areas that's being developed more so and everything. Literally around Journal Square, the fact that you have these skyscrapers that's getting like taller than the Lowe's and Stanley theaters, it's really something. But hey, but yes, definitely he's bringing out some good points.
Suburban sprawl. Cities all across North America have been engaging in suburban sprawl for the last century. However, this suburban sprawl has only gotten worse the longer that we've gone on to do it. With the restrictions of zoning in suburbia limiting almost all housing to be single-family housing, with single-family house sizes growing nearly 3 times since the 1950s, and the lack of mixed-use zoning allowed to be built, this has
I hate that I thought of a fat joke. I'm sorry. No disrespect against anyone in particular.
led to destinations being further sprawled apart by people that use them. On top of this, many suburban developments have broken away from the grid style layouts of most American cities, leading to
Mm,
winding developments with minimal access points to arterial roads that make transit planning incredibly difficult to manage with standard bus lines.
I
Much
can
like
see
how
that.
utility and road infrastructure is stretched incredibly thin in the suburbs to the point that it becomes fiscally irresponsible for cities to support it, bus routes in these newer exurban
I like
developments
that
see
livery.
diminishing
Way
returns
to
on
go,
riders
TriMet.
and significantly lower demand for public transit in these areas. These exurban
Yep.
areas aren't going to become less car dependent overnight, not by a long shot. It will take time to introduce the missing middle housing variety, the mixed use zoning, and the walking and cycling infrastructure that will be able to make these spaces able to provide those last mile connections to.
Okay. Now, I when it comes to like city planning, which I've taken a great interest in the Raymond Waters Imagination book series, which is available on Amazon Kindle. I turn more towards the new urbanist philosophy with regards to high quality transit oriented development, good walkability, and so much more. But I also get why there are a lot of people that rely on car dependent suburbs. Now, idealistically, the streetcar suburbs is the best. But as far as car dependent suburbs, in some cases there are some people that just want to have a series of low density homes and not completely for it, but not against it either.
Frequent public transportation. But in the meantime, microtransit provides a viable stopgap solution for public transportation in some of the least walkable neighborhoods that we have, making those essential transportation connections for those who need it. Should it be in place of buses on a wider scale? Absolutely not. Many of
I
even the
agree.
worst car dependent stroads can still support ridership of frequent bus routes, even in their sorry state. In some
Hmm.
situations, microtransit can still be the best option for getting people to try out public transit and help our communities become better places to live. But
Okay, I agree with that. Definitely. definitely is something that I've mentioned before in one essay that I've written on Amazon called "Make Me Want to Take the Bus, Not Need." um, where it encourages the idea of making sure that the quality of public transit is the best it could possibly be. It won't be the best for everyone, and I will be frank, I've had a few Karens in a Via van. But the reality is that, you want to make the you want to be as pleasant as possible if you're going to be a transit operator in a way where, oh, it could encourage some to be able to take more public transportation when necessary, or at least voice certain concerns to planners and more on what could be done in order to make the service better. I have given my suggestions towards VIA, MTA, New Jersey Transit, and others, and some have taken to heart the suggestions, others haven't, but at least you were able to take it.
Have you ever taken a public microtransit service? What was your experience? Did you have to wait a long time, or was it fairly smooth? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed
Mhm.
this video, then be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. I want to thank all of you for watching this video. Your
Okay, so that's really the video. Um, what he brought out is a fair assessment with regards to microtransit. And I am completely in favor of a lot of the things that he said. He brought out a lot of fair critiques that I've even had with regards to microtransit. Is it a decent service? Is yes. Should it replace regular forms of public transportation? Not necessarily. In many ways, I compare microtransit to gadget bonds like rubber tire trams and the monorail, where it utilizes the latest technology that's available to help certain ones in need of public transportation, but it should not replace the generalized form. But either way, that's it. Please support climate and transit. Check out the full length video where you don't have me constantly pausing and talking multiple times and everything. And yeah, on that note, see y'all later.